Hello everybody. This is another class on Java web development, and this time I am using Tiles. For those who are not familiar with Tiles, it is a open source templating framework for Java applications. The reason I started to actually create this application is because this one is based on Tiles3, and I haven't seen actually any Tiles3 based Java application without using either struts or Spring or struts to. So I decided to actually create a application from scratch, and I combine information from different places, and I eventually figure it out to make it work. So um, I will start first by presenting the content of this application. So after we actually create a new project in Intellij, one important thing is to actually have a bunch of libraries who will make this application work. And for those who are not familiar with the libraries, here are all the libraries that you need to make this application, I would say, working. They are, as suggested actually by Tiles3 website, you're supposed to actually copy all the jar files in this lib, but then it will be an extensive number of jar files that we won't use and will be actually just making our project to be bigger than shorter. So pay attention at this part. These are the minimum libraries that were necessary for developing this application. And now I'm going to actually show you the functionality of this application. I'm going to start by clicking on the index.jsp and running index.jsp. And you'll see it's just a very basic I would say application using Tiles3, but this application is if you want the essential for doing it. So notice I have a part of the default header, I have a default footer, some menus on the left, and this is the home page body. So if I click on About Us, notice the content of About Us appears here, and if I click back on Home, this is the home page body appears back here. So that's pretty much what I'm going to explain to you now. So this being said, let's actually look at the content of this application. Well, first of all, we need to prepare a little bit the and I'm going just to delete the output file. So I'm not interested in keeping that for the time being. But looking at this um, project from scratch, I actually created um, two additional folders. One is the layout folder, in which I actually have the classic, if you want, JSP file, which is the framework. Like I said, it's somehow the equivalent of a master page in Windows. Microsoft actually development for either with C# or Visual Studio, either Visual Basic or C#, right? And so if you look at this one, you will see that in fact I have just a table here, and I have several rows, and notice the tiles insert attribute tags that appears here, because I'm using the tags library, libraries for this inserting menus. Now, this is the basic file, and pay attention. Of course, you can, print out this one, as a picture, and then have it and starting the project from scratch. So that's one thing that you need to do. And then I have created um, the corresponding pages, the about page, um, the about body, that is actually the content of the page. I have a default footer, default header. I kept them very simple. Default menu, where I have just the menu items, an unordered list. And if you see the list items, these are pointing to our, let's say, Tiles homepage JSP, which is this folder for the homepage, and then Tiles about JSP for the about us. I have a home body, of course, and I also have a home page where I have the page um, um, tile, inserting tile definition name page. So that's pretty much what I need for this. Now, one important thing is that in the web XML, um, we need to actually have, if you want, you can have the welcome file list. It's not necessary to have that one. You can have just one. Here I have more. But as suggested actually on the Tiles website, I have added a listener. So I'm using the API, actually complete auto load Tiles listener. And I'm also using a servlet. And so as you can see, all the pages, um, and this servlet actually will be mapped to all the pages that ends up in Tiles. So um, that and this one is from one of our libraries. So both complete auto load listener and Tiles dispatch servlet. If you go to the lib and you look at one of these, I don't remember which one exactly it's right now. Probably the Tiles core will have them. So you go here, and of course you can look up for the uh, extras, complete, startup, and so on, right? So that will be maybe, I think it's like Tiles JSP, and here we have our Tiles servlet, I believe. Here, Tiles servlet, right? And I have the web, and if I look at, I have the startup. Um, util is here. So notice here I have the Tiles dispatch servlet, right? And for the other one, I have to look at Apache Tiles extras, um, which is probably somewhere here where this is a Tiles core. Um, I haven't found it here, but it's definitely, it will be in one of these libraries that we added here. So don't worry about that. Just use it as you can see it here. That I guarantee it work. Now, make sure that you have this 3.1 here version, not other version like 2.0, like that will be using. Actually, sorry, that's something else. But so, in fact, I was referring to the Tiles XML here. It's like sometimes if you use Tiles 0, you'll put 2.1 here, I believe, and 2.1, but now we're using Tiles 0. Now, what I have here, I have the definitions, the Tiles definition, in fact. And notice how this works, in fact. I have a Tiles definition where I have a common page content. And in the common page content, notice what is missing is missing the body. I have the classic template, which means it's going to point to these classic templates from the Tiles XML, points to the classic templates. And then in the classic templates, it's going to in fact, insert the attributes for the header, menu, and body and footer, right? So if I go back here to the Tiles, I'll see that inserts the attributes for the header, menu, and footer, right? By taking that content from the corresponding Tiles default footer, default menu, and header, and then I'm extending this common page to home page and just adding the attribute of the body by saying that you should put the home body JSP, which is in fact this one, right, the home body JSP content, right, into the name body. And so if you look at that, it's practically going to put it here, right? So in this content. So that being said, um, it's not too much actually to explain about this tiles. Now, the reason that I use actually Tiles3 and not Tiles2 is that Tiles3 comes with the integration of expression language, and it comes with many other things that are not available in Tiles2. So I would just now click one more time and go to these pages so that you see exactly the content of the pages. You can feel free to print them and use them actually in creating your own application. Notice I kept them very, very simple and very with a very minimal stuff, right? So uh, notice this about calls the about page, right? And then I have the about body. Right? This is the body of the about, right? So if you look at classic um, and we look at the uh, menu, right? If you look at the menu, notice it actually points to the about JSP, which is this one, right? And this about JSP is going to use the definition from this about page, right? And actually put inside the about body JSP content, which is this one, right? So one more time, I'm going to run the application. So if I just run the index.jsp, and I would say like the simplicity of this application is that there is no struts, struts or struts2 or Spring if you want. However, some of the libraries that you'll need to put, um, um, they do actually have some jar files associated with Spring. So notice again, this is a default header. I have two menu items that are actually available. Of course, you can make this one available on the same principle. This is the default footer. So clicking on this is going to is going to show the content of About Us page. Clicking on the home is going to show the homepage body. Well, that being said, I believe that this is a short tutorial and it's probably what you actually need to start working with Tiles3. Well, of course, I do expect that if you want to add additional functionality to the web pages, probably improve the design and so on, while running your application, you may be needing to add additional jars. These so far are the basic jars that I'm using. Now, the version that I use, as you can see, I'm using Intellij idea. I use my JDK 1.80121 and Tomcat 8.527, and that's all for today. So thank you very much. Try to print the content of the pages. I think I've been at least one time clicking on all these pages, and if not, I'm just doing that now. So to give you actually enough time to, see the content, print it, and actually create a functionable program. Thank you very much and have a great day.